As we know, the finals got a brand new hacker playstyle. However, I was given exclusive access to Season 2 early by the developers, where I was able to test the entire new hacker playstyle and toolkit, including all the new specializations and equipment, as well as the brand new weapons for each class, where there is a multitude of hidden mechanics that weren't shown off in the trailers, as well as some decent tips and usage for each. I'll go over each and every one of those, including some exclusive gameplay, and a whole bunch more. What's up world, Dystopia back in there, checking on all things the finals. As for the Dematerializer, which is for the medium, it is a specialization that temporarily erases physical surface like walls, ceilings, or goo, allowing contestants to see, shoot, and pass through them. They create new passageways, close them back up again, and turn every obstacle into an open door. Now again, as they said here, you can pass through them, which yes, you can physically pass through these obstacles. You can also drop the cash out and other items down through the walls, and you can even reseal the walls right back up. The Dematerializer does start with 3 different charges. Opening up a wall and closing it back will use 2 charges. So again, the opening and closing both use a charge of that Dematerializer. And honestly, this specialization will probably have the biggest impact to the game overall, as you are able to clear fairly large surfaces. This also does apply to objects in the play space. This thing adds an insane amount of dynamic to the game and different playstyles, as well as just being a pretty big meta change. As I said in my previous video, this does remind me of some split gate portals. However, they are not as far reaching, and you do need to be fairly close to the wall to actually initiate this. Overall, mediums get a massive W this season, which also moves me on to the Data Reshaper. It's a gadget that changes enemy fortifications, or any random objects for that matter, into something else entirely, like turning an enemy mine into a chair or an enemy turret into a table. Great for breaking through enemy defenses. However, that's not all with the Data Reshaper. There is some unique properties with it. Now again, this is a gadget and not a specialization, so you can use both the Dematerializer and the Data Reshaper at the same time. One of the unique properties that I found with the Data Reshaper is not only can you change enemy turrets into a table, you can also change smoke into an explosive, or those explosive barrels, so you can actually switch back and forth between good and bad. It does seem like it might be fairly random, however there is some unique changes there, as they didn't really outline the fact that you could switch a smoke canister into an explosive one, or you can actually change a passive equipment into a more aggressive. Again, you do only get 1 charge of this, however you are able to change multiple items within 1 burst, or at least within its 1 usage. Again, it does seem fairly random, but there is those occurrences there. Overall, with the Dematerializer and the Data Reshaper, this is going to be a really good combo for the medium class, and basically makes them as covert as the light class, using even invis, completely evading frontal attacks, getting to the backside, and alleviating all those defenses. Now next up for the heavies, we do have the Anti-Gravity Cube. It's a deployable cube that manipulates gravity in its immediate area, lifting contestants and objects upwards. Is it a traversal tool or a defensive gadget is up to the contestant. They're right about it being defensive, as this does add an insanely slow field, especially for classes that aren't light. Now it seems like each individual class actually can move through this either slower or faster depending on what class you're playing, and again of course lights can move through it fairly quickly. However, the heavies and mediums actually do move through it kind of slow, meaning that this is actually an insanely useful tool through doorways to completely stop crowds and force them to go to a different direction. It does seem to last fairly long. This is an insane combo with the Dematerializer and pushing through the cash outs through different walls and different layers. You can also use the shields in them, which will allow you to get to higher places, which on the new map this is actually insanely useful, because there are spots that you can use with the Anti-Gravity Cube to get to high places, almost reminiscent of a chandelier, or even locations above in those ceiling sections. There was actually an Embark dev that showed me this and got to a really cool location that was able to kind of protect the cash out. Again, a really cool dynamic there with that specialization, which is going to pair insanely well with that Dematerializer. Now next up, we do have the Gateway for Lights. It's a pair of limited range deployable portals. When both are thrown and activated, contestants and objects can move between them, the 2 locations. Anyone can use a portal, but players can't see or shoot through them. Perfect for quick getaway and when things get hairy. And when they mean by players can't see or shoot through them, they mean the actual portal itself can't be seen through or be shot through. All players can see them, even enemy players, and it doesn't matter what class is actually using them, or at least the other classes that are around the other players. They can also see those portals even if they're on the enemy faction. What I've noticed with this is that the gateway actually doesn't throw very far. However, I found its most use is when you actually throw one down next to you and then walk to a different location, or throw one and then walk to a different location and placing a portal pretty far away. Again, that seems to be more utilized than actually throwing it to a location and wanting to get there, as the throw is not as far as I had hoped for. However, this does seem insanely useful for a getaway and give the light class even more mobility, especially if you don't take a mobility specialization. This equipment is really good for light. It also seems like a fairly no-brainer choice for lights overall, as there really isn't too much equipment and gadgets to take on the lights that actually influences gameplay. play. However, paired well with a really good team, this can make the change completely, as it can get your team out of very sticky situations, and again, you can even use the enemy portals to get through them to them, which also adds a pretty big dynamic layer to that. Now again, to reiterate, all players can use them. It doesn't matter what enemy team, they can all see them, so you do have to be wary on that because it can play against you in some scenarios. And it doesn't seem like there's any cooldown. You can hop back in and out of the portals fairly quick, so there's no sort of cooldown with the actual portal. You can just go in and out as much as you want, which again adds a lot of dynamic to the play there. Now for the weapons, we do have a 9.3R burst fire machine pistol. This pistol is fairly decent and decently accurate. However, its headshot multiplier is pretty insane, so if you are able to hit the headshots with pistols on lights, this is a really good weapon choice, as it seems like it has a fairly fast TTK, if not one of the fastest. However, I would probably choose the other pistol if you are a mainly body shot person, as this again seems to have the more of a headshot multiplier for it overall. I've noticed it's not the easiest to get it to chain down with it. However, you can overall if you do hit those decent headshots, but it's a lot easier with the regular pistol because you do get a lot more shots per mag. Again, overall this is going to be a tough choice, but a definite decent pickup. It's also fairly accurate at range. However, it does have a decent amount of recoil. Now the mediums are getting that Famas burst rifle. However, during the actual test with the devs, the recoil on the Famas seems to be almost non-existent. Again, I'm not sure if this makes it to lie, but it is a pretty insanely accurate weapon. It seemed like it was bugged. I talked to Siegel about it, but we didn't know overall. This is definitely going to be the next choice for mediums over that F-car. At least it seemed like the play for a lot of people during this exclusive test, although I did see a developer rock an F-car and still do fairly well. This burst rifle is just insanely accurate at range with nearly zero recoil. Again, not sure if it was bugged for the exclusive test or if it's going to launch live like this, but it was very accurate. Now last up was the KS-23 slug shotgun. This was a fairly decent weapon, although it has a very low ammo capacity. It also cannot aim down sights and just uses the in-game crosshair, so it is a little bit odd to use at the very beginning. However, overall I did get used to it after a little while, and it does seem like a fairly strong weapon for heavies. Not sure if this is going to be used over the other shotgun. However, it does seem like a decent pickup. This does seem like the weaker choice of the three weapons though, I will say. Although I will be honest, I did have the least amount of testing with this weapon overall. I didn't really see anyone else using it, and I saw a few people even using the original shotgun. So again, not sure how much this will change the meta up for heavies, but it is a decent try. Overall though, it should about cover it for the weapons and equipment, all my testing, and some of the hidden mechanics with that. If you did enjoy today's video, like and subscribe, and it's a nice one. Deuces.